What is happening, everybody? And welcome back to Currency Revalue, your number one source for the most critical updates on Iraq's economic future. Today, we're diving into breaking news that could shake the very foundation of Iraq's financial system, and by extension, the dreams of every single dinar holder worldwide. Now, I know that phrase gets thrown around a lot. We've all heard the speculation, the whispers, the guru chatter. But this time, it's different, because what just surfaced in Iraq's own news cycle isn't just another rumor. It isn't just another recycled headline. It's a direct signal coming straight from inside the Central Bank of Iraq, wrapped in one of the most important articles we've seen in years. The headline reads, "Deleting 3 zeros from the dinar, citizens' concerns and experts' warnings." And trust me, the weight of those words cannot be overstated. See, the fact that the media in Iraq is running this type of story tells us something critical. This isn't planning, this isn't theory, this is rollout. They are now openly preparing their people for change, not hiding it, not brushing it off, but actually broadcasting it. When a government starts managing public opinion, that means the decision has already been made. They're past the if stage. They're now in the how. Think about this for a second. Iraq's central bank has been talking almost daily about reforms, policies, new frameworks, digital banking, integration with the international system. And now, this article marks the next stage. Citizens are being asked to weigh in, experts are being asked to warn, and the general population is being conditioned for what's about to unfold. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're sitting in a cafe in Baghdad. On the TV, you see a panel of economists explaining how a 25,000 dinar note might soon become a 25 dinar note. At the same time, the central bank is on the radio assuring farmers in rural areas that their savings won't disappear overnight. That's not speculation. That's public management of one of the most important monetary reforms in modern history. So let's dig into the heart of this. What does deleting 3 zeros really mean? And more importantly, what does it mean for us? Here's where the confusion comes in. Many people hear that phrase and panic. They assume it means a straight redenomination, or what's commonly called a lop. That's where you take your 25,000 dinar note, and it becomes 25 dinar. The prices in Iraq shift equally, and the overall value doesn't change. International holders, wiped out. That's the nightmare scenario, right? But here's the thing. That explanation doesn't line up with the bigger picture, and the context matters. Why? Because Iraq has spent the last several years building towards something far larger. They've stabilized their government after years of chaos. They've cracked down on corruption, even going after politicians who thought they were untouchable. They've rebuilt their reserves, which are now pushing past $100 billion. They've increased their oil revenues, securing deals with OPEC and attracting interest from China, India, and Europe. And most importantly, they've rebuilt their banking system with new technology, new regulations, and new international partnerships. That is not the kind of groundwork you lay for a meaningless redenomination. That is the infrastructure of a true revaluation. Here's what that would look like. Let's say the central bank decides to lift the dinar to parity with the dollar, 1-to-1. Suddenly, your 25,000 dinar note has the purchasing power of 25,000 US dollars. Now, in practical terms inside Iraq, you can't have citizens walking around with notes that high. So what do? They introduce lower denominations, 5 dinar, 10 dinar, 25 dinar, and at the same time, they phase out the larger ones. The zeros are deleted not to rob value, but to normalize transactions. A soda costs 1 dinar instead of 1,000. Rent is 300 dinar instead of 300,000. It's about usability, not devaluation. And folks, this isn't just about economics. This is about psychology. A currency covered in zeros screams weakness. It signals hyperinflation, poverty, instability. By removing those zeros, Iraq is telling the world, we are no longer broken, we are no longer weak. We are back. It's national pride, it's global positioning, and it's the rebranding of an entire country. Now let's talk about the citizens, because the article made it clear concerns are real. Imagine being an Iraqi retiree who saved 10 million dinar. You hear 3 zeros deleted, and your heart drops. You think, will my savings vanish overnight? That's why the central bank is going public. That's why experts are issuing warnings. This is about trust. Iraq is preparing its people, step by step, to believe that this is not a theft but a transformation. Let's be real here. Governments don't broadcast this kind of project unless they're confident. If this were just a theoretical move, it would be buried in policy papers. Instead, it's splashed across headlines. That's intentional. That's a signal. And think of the ripple effects. If the dinar revalues, suddenly Iraq's $100 billion reserves double or even triple in power. Import costs shrink. Infrastructure projects accelerate. Foreign investors flood in. And for us, the holders outside Iraq, the impact is monumental. But here's where we need to stay sharp. The gurus will tell you the dream scenario, that 1 dinar equals $3 overnight. And listen, that would be life-changing for all of us. But the real story is in the careful steps the CBI is taking. They aren't rushing. They aren't hiding. They're guiding their people into this shift with transparency and control. That's what tells me this isn't smoke. This is fire. Now let's zoom out for a second. Iraq isn't doing this in a vacuum. Look at the global stage. Countries are moving away from dollar dependency. BRICS nations are experimenting with alternative systems. Oil is being sold in yuan and rupees. Every country wants sovereignty over its economy. Iraq, sitting on one of the largest oil reserves on Earth, is in the perfect position to join that wave. But to do so, it needs a strong currency, a respected currency, a currency that isn't laughed at because it has too many zeros. That's why this move is so much bigger than just us as investors. This is about Iraq reclaiming its seat at the global table. And the signs are everywhere. Citizens being asked questions, experts issuing warnings, politicians making statements, the CBI releasing daily updates. That's not chaos. That's choreography. Every step is calculated, every message is crafted to prepare for the switch. So what should we do? Stay vigilant. Watch the CBI. Watch the news coming out of Iraq. Don't get lost in the noise of forums and speculation. Follow the facts, and the fact is, Iraq is closer than it has ever been to executing the biggest monetary reform of the last 20 years. This is the moment where if becomes when, and when becomes how. My friends, we are standing on the edge of history. The deletion of the zeros is not the end of the story. It's the final confirmation that Iraq is ready to step into a new future. So stay tuned, stay ready, and keep watching Currency Revalue for every update as it breaks. Because if this move goes live, it will change everything.